Please welcome Matthew Lewis. Keep it going. He's making his way to the stage.
Thank you. Whoa, shit. Thank you. I thought the trophy was for me.
It is. It's the second time back trophy. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, guys. That was quite the ovation. Thank you very much.
Certainly. Did you want to get right to the questions? What have you been up to? Any of that stuff. It's your time.
Okay. You don't want to just let me talk. Yeah, no.
I asked him if he was planning on doing the Q&A with that English accent the whole way through.
I am.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, unless no one can understand me, and then I'll speak slower.
No,
But no, it's been a wonderful weekend already, and we're not even at the end of Saturday. I can't believe it. I don't normally do Fridays because they're not usually busy. But I was watching the football this morning. That's soccer. And so I thought, well, I'm not starting till 12, so I'll come in early and I'll do the Friday. And it was insanely busy yesterday.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, what is Saturday going to be like? And wow, it's been quite the day. So thank you so much, obviously, everyone, for being here this weekend. It's been wonderful. You know, after the last couple of years, obviously, as you all know, it's been miserable. And so to be here with you all this weekend, and to be able to meet you all and shake your hands. Remember that? It's all been so much fun, and long may it continue, and thank you again, and I'll see you next year.
All right, yay!
No,
Matthew Lewis.
thank you guys, I really appreciate it. It's been a great weekend so far, and I look forward to tomorrow as well. And
Sure.
Without further ado, questions.
Questions, raise your hand. We'll come around. Of course. All right, in the front. Let's start right here. You got a question right up front.
Who is the funnest person to work with?
The funnest person to work with. I think it's actually quite easy. Rupert Grint. Yeah, Rupert is genuinely one of the funniest people I know. There are people you'll meet in your life who have funny bones, and they can say the most irreverent, simple thing, and it's the funniest thing you ever heard. And Rupert's one of those people. No matter what he's saying, how he's saying it, it's just so funny. And he would have me in stitches all the time. And the wonderful thing about Rupert is that he often was in stitches himself all the time. There's so many great takes that we did, so many wonderful scenes that we did that were utterly ruined by Rupert corpsing, is what we call it, laughing in the middle of a scene. There was one I remember. It was a scene when he was supposed to say, and I don't think it made it in the film, but he was supposed to, do you remember when Seamus Finnegan kind of squares up to Harry, and he's really mad because the papers are saying you're a liar and my family don't trust you and all this stuff. And Rupert was supposed to say, you better back off unless you want a fistful of Weasley. It's a hell of a line. And he couldn't get it out, bless him. He really just could not get it out. He just, we were there all morning, and I remember, like David Yates, like he didn't have a lot of hair to begin with, but what he had left, he was tearing it out. And I think we went the whole morning of him trying to say this line, and eventually they just called lunch. And we never came back to it. At one point in the back of the scene, before Rupert even did the line, so he'd not even got to it, he was already laughing. And he thought he could cover his laughing with a slice of toast. But he'd already bitten a bite out of it, so it already looked like a smile. And he just moved it over his mouth to cover it. But it already has the thing in it. It's ridiculous. But he did that stuff not on purpose. He was genuinely trying to hide his laughing. But he's got funny bones. I don't know. He's definitely the funnest I work with, yeah.
All right, we got a question over here on the right.
What is your favorite part of acting?
in Harry Potter.
Oh, okay. That's easier. Thank you. You mean beyond being here in this room with you lovely people? No, I mean genuinely, this is tremendous fun. And my favorite, gosh, I think. I mean, honestly, I say that kind of facetiously, but in many ways that is very, very true. I mean, here we are. The last movie came out in 2011, and here we are in 2022. Still talking about Harry Potter, and you guys are all... I mean, how old are you?
Nine.
Oh my god. So, the last movie had been out for a couple of years before you were even in this world. And yet here we are, still talking about it, and I think that the community that Harry Potter has created, the people that we have as our fan base are the best in the world. And I know everyone says that, but I genuinely think that you guys are. And this is the best thing. I mean, you want to, as an actor, we tell stories and all this, pretentious stuff that we say. We just want to take a journey and all this stuff. But the truth is, we just want to make people happy. I mean, that's what we do it for, is that we want people to come in the cinema and watch our film and enjoy it. And to know here, over a decade after the last movie, over 2 decades after the first movie, people are still enjoying it and still talking about it. That is the most fulfilling thing one could ever imagine. And that's a testament as much to you guys as anything else. So in answering the question, that's the best thing. And also, kudos to you guys. Thank you.
Got 2 questions over here. First, Watson.
I'm just going to put my jumper on. You go ahead. I'm listening.
So we all know that you had the 25th anniversary, but is there anybody that you kept in contact with before the anniversary from, filming?
It's cold in here. Yeah, okay, so, everyone really, honestly, you work together for that length of time. And the thing that's unique about Harry Potter is that it was a phenomenon in that there was nothing else quite like it before that. And, we've got huge franchises now. But even Star Wars really... because they'd been the time between the 2 trilogies at that time was so far apart, it wasn't quite in the same vein. So there was nothing at that time that had been like Harry Potter, and so we were all in a unique position, but we were all in it together. And so that in itself breeds a level of camaraderie and closeness that few other things can. And it sounds so wanky and pretentious to say it, but it's like being in the trenches. The things that you go through doing that, it bonds you in a way that no one else will understand. When you come home from Afghanistan or whatever, no one else will quite understand what you went through there. And obviously, not the same at all. But in terms of that we had a unique experience and outlook that other people didn't understand, we did. And we shared that with each other. And so as we got older and we were embarking on our own careers, there was still the idea that no one else on earth really understood what we were doing, what we had done, and our perspective than each other. And so we did stay in contact, and we did talk about issues, maybe not as much as we should. And I think that was one of the I didn't see it, but I think that was one of the main talking points of the reunion, was that maybe we should have done more of that. But we're not, particularly men are not very good at talking, are they? But we did lean on each other a little bit, at least. And I was fortunate enough. I spent 2 years living in Los Angeles, and I was lucky enough that for whatever reason at that same time period, Tom was living there at the time, and then Emma had just moved into town as well, and then Bonnie moved. So there was 4 of us, and we all lived within like a square couple of miles of each other. So we saw each other quite regularly, which was real nice. Really, really nice. And if someone I saw Dan in most of his shows, and a lot of them came to see my shows in the West End as well. And so we had. It's difficult because we all live all over the world, and we're all working all over the world, so it's tricky. But if we are in the same place, we will certainly try and get together. And I'm actually going to be seeing Tom in a couple of weeks as well, and he's going to be on the West End. He's got his West End debut in about 6 weeks' time, which I know he's shitting himself about. So he's already. I've been texting him about that, and I'm going to try and catch him at the end of May as well on treading the boards. I'm excited for him. It's going to be good.
Great. Another question right down here.
So hello, Matthew. Wonderful to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I grew up watching all the Harry Potter movies, and I just want to say I love all of them, and you are my favorite character in all of them, Neville Longbottom.
Oh, you say that to everyone. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the question I've always wanted to ask you is this. What was it like watching your character grow and mature throughout the entire Harry Potter series, like going from Sorcerer's Stone to a young kid to like a grown, brave, mature man in Deathly Hallows, especially, and also your fondest memory of Alan Rickman as Professor Snape?
First of all, thank you for calling me a grown, mature man. That was cool. I don't feel like one. Well, hey, look, the whole bit of Neville that was, the best bit of Neville was his journey, right? Was his evolution. And as an actor, you do always want to feel like your character takes a journey, particularly if you do something for 10 years. I've kind of shied away from doing anything. I've done a couple of series of things since then, but anything that sort of locks me into a sort of 5-6 years is things that I've kind of shied away from. I like to sort of get in, get out, because often you can feel like you're doing the same thing, basically. And you want to feel like your character is evolving and changing, and you take a journey and you end up in a different place at the end of it from whence you started. And I very much got that with Neville. And I think that the character that was created was incredibly inspiring. And I don't say that from my perspective. I was just lucky enough to play him on TV, on film. But I just mean that the character that was created in those novels was incredibly inspiring to an awful lot of people, myself included. People who weren't particularly confident or excelled in any particular field at school, didn't really stand out from the crowd, maybe existed on the fringes of society, were invisible to most of their peers and teachers or whatever. It goes to show that they were still human beings with rich lives and history to them, and their own reasons for why they are who they are, and why they will be what they will eventually be, and that they can achieve greatness. We all have it within us. Society might not let us feel that way all the time, but we do. We do all have it in us. We are all individual people who are deserving of deserving and capable of greatness. And Neville was a prime example of that, and I feel very, very honoured to have been able to portray that on screen. I hope I was able to capture a fraction of what I read in the character in the book, because it meant so much to me. To answer your question, how was that? It was amazing. To play any character like that I looked up to as a kid, that I was inspired by as a kid, to then put that on screen, that potentially maybe someone else could be inspired by that. It's very difficult to I say put into words when I've just been talking non-stop for the last 5 minutes, but it is difficult. It's very humbling, and I'm very, very proud that I was chosen to do that. I don't feel like he's mine. He's not mine. I was just lucky enough to portray him in one piece of art. And what was the next bit? Oh, Alan, yeah, of course. So that's Neville, and I what a great character, and lucky I was to play him. As for Alan, it's kind of, I don't regret many things, and I think that you probably shouldn't regret things. Things in life happen the way they happen, and it shapes us and makes us who we are, regardless. And you should embrace that. But if I was to have a regret, it would probably be that I didn't spend as much time as I should have pestering Alan, bothering him, just being around him and talking to him. I guess it's someone, I said this to someone today, I think, that he's been such a stalwart of British cinema since I've been alive. He's been in so many movies and been at the BAFTA Awards and just on TV interviews. He's just kind of someone that you thought would always be there. And the idea of him not being was weird. I guess I think I always assumed I'd work with him again. And to know that I won't and can't is that's rubbish. But I didn't know that as a kid. You don't know that as a kid. I mean, you think about grandparents or even our own parents. You don't think about stuff like that. You should all the time. No, but you should definitely have a thought of it because life can be fleeting, and it's important to enjoy things and embrace things when you can. And I wish I had, because he was a wonderful man and he had a lot of time for everyone. I was terrified of him for a long, long time, and it wasn't until I got a lot older, and I'd like to say like 17, 18, but I mean like 20, 21, before I was like, I think I can talk to him. And so I plucked up the courage enough to talk to him, and he was just wonderful and so warm and generous with his time and his advice and his career, and as an actor, a very generous actor as well. And I just wish I'd known that earlier. But again, that's life, and I've learned that now. And when I meet people now, I think, right, no, utilize the time you've got. And that, so I guess it's not a regret, because it's also shaped me. But I do wish I'd known that he was the great man that he was earlier, so I could have had more experiences with him. But what I did have was lovely and memorable, and he was great guy.
All right. We've got a question over here to the right.
What were the pros and cons of being a child actor?
Oh. I was really lucky, right? Because I was in these huge movies that were unprecedented at the time, biggest box office movies and biggest film series of all time. And yet, because Dan, Rupert and Emma took most of the flack, they got all the limelight, really. I got to be in those movies, and I got to walk down red carpets and do all these wonderful, amazing things. But honestly, at the weekend, I used to go home back to Leeds in the north of England, and nobody cared. No one cared about Neville Longbottom in Leeds in 2004. I could just go about my business, and I kind of got the best of both worlds in that respect. And so all of kind of the pitfalls that you discuss about child actors going off the rails and it being difficult, I don't really have a huge amount, honestly. I feel like I led a very normal childhood, albeit privileged, admittedly. But it was normal. I went to a very normal school, and none of my friends cared, and they still don't care. My wife hasn't seen all the films. She doesn't care. And I think I gravitate towards people in my personal life who haven't seen them because they don't care, And as a youth, I kind of got away with that a little bit. I really was very, very lucky in that respect. And I think that the issues that child actors often face, and again, that Dan, Rupert and Emma really did struggle with, and to their credit, navigated incredibly well, was that you don't have a normal childhood. You don't, at school, everyone talks about the job you have. The teachers can either love you, or hate you. It's the extremes, and that can be problematic for reasons. And obviously, there's issues of privacy and I know Dan. I mean, I went to Dan's 18th. I think it was his 18th birthday party, and he booked out this place in London, and he had to have a double come to the party, so at the end of the night, they could throw off the paparazzi. So the one could go off on a moped, and everyone would chase him, and then he would get in a car after that and go the other way. And I never had to deal with that. I didn't have to employ body doubles to get away from the paparazzi or anything like that. I mean, I think in Leeds, people think paparazzi is a type of Italian dinner. It's nothing to worry about where I'm from. So I was very fortunate. Obviously, I think it's even more difficult now. Honestly, I think that we were fortunate enough that we came just before the advent of social media, and I think that it would be much more difficult to be a child actor now. In a weird way, we kind of, that sort of the old era of Hollywood where being a child actor was terrible, and then now it's probably terrible again. And we kind of hit that sweet spot in between. And obviously we had each other, which was a big difference, a big difference. We weren't on our own, we had each other. I think if social media had been around, my 18, 19, 20-year-old experiences on display might not have been as pretty. But we got away with all that. We were kind of lucky with all that kind of stuff. And so we got away with it. And honestly, the only thing that I would say is a downfall is maybe the negativity that you perhaps get on social media, particularly with new projects and stuff like that, can be quite tricky to navigate sometimes. And there is a lot of toxicity in terms of anyone in the public eye at the minute because it's so accessible, with social media. But hey, it's a tiny minority, tiny minority, and the vast majority are you guys, wonderful, warm people who are so lovely to be around and lovely to meet, and the reason why we keep doing these conventions. And so I don't even want to waste breath talking about the negativity. I've had a lovely time. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go to the other side of the room over here with a question right here.
Hi. You've had the great fortune of working on Harry Potter and also All Creatures Great and Small, some of the most beloved series in literature. Looking back, is there a favorite of your own that you wish you had been involved in or you'd still like to be involved in?
A literature... okay. Wow. That's... yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, Harry Potter was I was a huge fan of Harry Potter. That was a dream come true on its own. I feel like picking another one's cheating. It's greedy, isn't it? But sure, I mean, I there's so many book series and books that I've seen made that I wish I'd been a part of. I was a huge, I still am of the Witcher series. I read all of those, and long before there was even the video game, and definitely not before, definitely before the TV series. It was a world I was aware of, and so when that was something that and I've not seen the series. I've heard it's very good. Someone clapped there. They've probably seen it. Yeah. So they're books that I love, and I would like to have been involved with those. What else? I read a lot. I'm quite a profuse reader, so I'm trying to think of some other things. I'm trying to think of something good. Obviously, Lord of the Rings is amazing, isn't it? It's weird because when we were younger, everyone thought that Lord of the Rings was like our big rival. Everyone was like, oh, Lord of the Rings v Harry Potter. I'm like, Lord of the Rings is well better than Harry Potter. What are you talking about? It's so good. I would like to be involved in those. What else? Yeah, that's a really good question. That's a really interesting. What about you? What do you like? What's your favorite kind of book series? No, project, darling. Oh, some Roald Dahl, huh? Okay, interesting. Yeah, I get Roald Dahl, wonderful. I very much like to be a part of some Roald Dahl stuff. I'm sure he must have a huge back catalogue that we've not even touched yet. I'm sure we'll get through some of that. Yeah, definitely, that's great. Any others? What else? What other book series should we be doing that I should be in? What else can I be in? Anyone? Help me out. All right, forget it. Next question.
We got time for 2 more questions.
Oh, really?
And I've got 2 children right here that are strangely dressed and have some questions for you that they're just bursting to get out.
Is that a Gryffindor and a Ravenclaw there? Okay.
All right, so he's going to go first.
So I was wondering, what's your favorite line from the Harry Potter series?
Well, what I said or anyone?
I'm probably gonna say that yours is maybe why is it always me? Is that yours?
Close. And I'll tell you a story about that in a second. But no, it's my favorite that I said was actually slightly self-serving, admittedly, was one that I wrote myself. It was when we blew up the bridge in Deathly Hallows. And there was no line scripted. Neville was just supposed to climb up and just get up. And I said, David, I think I should say something. He says, what do you want to say? I said, I don't know, I'll just do it. And I said, oh, that went well. And he liked it, and we kept it in. So I wrote that. Don't let anyone tell you anything different. I wrote that. Yeah, it's great, wasn't it? But I'll tell you about why is it always me? That day I was being hung from a chandelier. Hanged from a chandelier is grammatically correct. I was being hanged from a chandelier, and I had a harness on, and they pulled me up, and then they attached the rope to the chandelier at the back to make it appear as if I was being hanged by the rope. And what happened was, for whatever reason, there was a miscommunication, and they started to release the harness outside, so I was being lowered, but my robe was still attached to the chandelier. So they genuinely hanged me from it, and again, I don't really remember a lot. Loss of blood to the brain will do that. But my mother said that had gone a shade of blue, kind of like the Ravenclaw thing you've got on there. Before Greg Powell, our wonderful stunt coordinator, who was not overseeing this at all, he just happened to be there, and was started screaming to get me down, and they did, and it was all fine, and I didn't die, but it was touch and go, and so yeah, why is it always me? Holds quite a moment in my memories there. My favorite line from all the films is the Gary Oldman. I did my waiting, 12 years of it, in Azkaban. Oh, I bloody love that. I've only seen it once, but it makes me laugh, and I say it all the time. You know, when you're in like a supermarket or like a restaurant, they're like, oh, do you mind waiting? I go, I did my waiting, 12 years of it, in Azkaban. And they're like, what? I do that, yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Well, we only have time for one more, and she's going to have it. All right, we got one more question right here.
Okay.
So, if you could be any character in the franchise, who would you be?
Oh, these are so difficult. I'm still thinking of some more books. I can't think of... Bloody hell. I'm reading Fahrenheit 451 at the minute. Maybe we should do that, huh? I could do Guy Montag in that, huh? Sorry. Yeah. Do you like Ken Follett? Did you ever read any Ken Follett books? Pillars of the Earth, all them. I could be in them. I'd like to be in them. Yeah, you. Okay. I think I want to be a villain. I think I want to be a bad guy. I've had the luxury of playing villains in recent years. Not particularly nice people, and it's really fun. Because I'm so pathetic in real life. I'm such a rule follower. Yeah, I barely even speed, honestly. Like someone even asked me on a job, like, if you saw a sign saying this was a one-way street, but you like the turning was right in there, would you go up the one-way street? And I'd be like, no, I won't, no. I'm pathetic. So playing a character who is on the other side of the law is so much fun. And it's as an actor, it's tremendous. I mean, that's why we do acting, really. I mean, I have a very short attention span, in case you haven't noticed. I've never really had a job that I've wanted to do. I mean, even acting, really. I've never really had a job that I'm like, oh my God, that's my dream job. And the best thing about acting is that I get to do a different thing every time. And I never know what I'm going to be. And I've played a soldier, I've played a police officer, I've played a wealthy landowner, I've played a sex offender, all these different things. It's not really an occupation, is it? But it is different. And I've done all these different roles. Jesus. It's exciting to play different roles. And so the thing about playing villains is it's so far detached from what I do and how I live my life that it is different and unique and interesting. So I think I'm bringing this back to the question. I would play a villain, and I'm probably too old to play Draco Malfoy now. So I'd probably have to play his dad, wouldn't I? Lucius Malfoy would be a good one. I obviously could never do anything close to what Jason did. But yeah, something like that would be fun. Yeah, God, I hope that answered the question.
It certainly does. Thank you, Matthew. Welcome back as always. He's going to be headed back to his table to sign. Always a pleasure to have you here. Let's give it up. Matthew Lewis, always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Keep it going. He's still in the room.
This is John Glover, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Lionel Luther recommends it. Have some fun. Follow your fandom.